Hey everyone, it's Mark. This is my recap for Pokémon Horizons episode 28, The Stolen Treasure. This was the 1260th episode of the Pokémon anime, and here I am with another midweek episode review. Sorry about that. It may be Thursday, which sounds late, but is review actually late if you get it posted before the next episode airs? I don't know, but don't you worry everyone. This video is going to be special. Just you wait and see. Okay, let's pick things back up on the Rising Voltagler's quest to find Rayquaza, which has led them to this street market. Liko grandma suggested they go here to meet an antique shop owner, so why isn't Diana here herself? Well, she's back in the airship, which, by the way, just got its dub name, the Brave Olivine. This name makes sense, and to prove that, here was my initial reaction to the airship back in my review of Horizons Episode 2. For questions answered, they approach this giant airship. Fried calls this thing the Brave Asagi, and the only thing I could find about Asagi was that Olivine City is named Asagi City in Japanese, so I don't know what's going on there. Regardless, the one piece of context I was missing back then was that the Brave Olivine is actually just Ludlow's old ship, the Olivine, but all souped up to become an airship. Maybe we'll find out some more about Ludlow's backstory one day, and Olivine City will be involved somehow. Okay, back to Diana, and she's on the Brave Olivine deciphering an old text she had bought from her friend a long time ago. During this flashback, we see Terapagos messing around with Sprigatito and Fuecoco, and I guess Terapagos stayed on the ship too, because this was the only time we saw it in this whole episode. Back at the market, Liko, Roy, and Fried approach the antique shop, and the owner immediately goes into salesman mode. He tries selling them this powder that will win them every battle by putting Pokemon to sleep, and while Roy is the naive little kid who might fall for this stuff, Fried knows this is too good to be true. Yeah, it definitely sounds shady, and maybe Liko has learned from her run with Spinel not to trust everything she hears about because even she is skeptical about this deal. The shopkeep, whose name is Tepin, by the way, also tries selling them junk like a smartphone fossil before Liko cuts him off and says Diana was the one who sent them here. Tepin is shocked to hear that name, and he starts reminiscing about his memories with Diana. He brings up the story about getting caught upside down in an Ariados' web for a week straight, and yeah, that sounds about as real as the antiques he's trying to sell. Fried is about ready to cut this guy loose, but Roy brings out his ancient Pokeball, and Tepin is like, whoa, hey now, let me take a closer look at that. Roy, again being a naive little kid, hands over the ball and his backpack, and Tepin examines them with his back turned to the group. He pretty quickly gives up on it though, and hands Roy's bag back, presumably after tucking the Pokeball back inside. He waves the group away and tells them to say hi to Diana, and while they have their backs turned, Hatena can look out from Liko's hood and sense this guy's emotions, which are pretty clearly malicious. Hatena starts to freak out, but unfortunately, my favorite Horizons Pokemon gets misunderstood as everyone thinks she's just hungry. Jump cut to lunchtime, and everyone's meal is interrupted by some movement inside Roy's bag. A random fungus jumps out and hops away, so Roy looks inside his bag, and oh, would you believe it, Tepin stole his Pokeball. How shocking. They quickly realize Tepin must have it, so they decide to run back to his shop. Meanwhile, we see Tepin reveling in the success of his trick, and he calls out a group of Pokemon to tell them they're gonna make a run for it. By the time our heroes get there, the entire shop has been packed up and put away, which confirms to them that Tepin really did steal their Pokeball. Liko realizes that Hatena was trying to warn them about this guy, and maybe now they'll utilize Hatena's ability to sense emotions more in the future. As they start to run after Tepin, they theorize that he must be in cahoots with the explorers, because why else would he steal the ball? And well, we hear Tepin on the phone next, not sure exactly who he's talking to, but it does sound pretty shady. Our heroes decide to split up because that always goes well for them. I mean, seriously, how many episodes has it been now where Liko and or Roy go off on their own and just become damsels in distress? Tepin continues to make his escape when he sees Fried flying past, so after some quick thinking, he gives his Lampent a pouch with Roy's Pokeball inside, and Tepin has his Pokemon run away to the usual spot. Fried has spotted him by this point, but he's late to confront him. Tepin's Pokemon have already gotten away. Tepin tries to solve for time, which Fried isn't buying for a second, but even after looking at all his antiques, the Pokeball is nowhere to be found. Tepin goes from shady to, like, actually seriously villainous when he dumps his entire cart onto Fried. That's gotta be a lawsuit. He starts running away down an alley, and Fried tells Charizard to give chase, and for some reason, this idiot flies low enough to get its wings caught in all the merch stands as it flies by. Fried and Cap start to give chase, only for the vendors to be like, hey, WTF, fix our shops, bro. We jump ahead a few minutes and see that Charizard is hard at work repairing the shops while Fried is finishing up a phone call with Liko and Roy. He tells them to find the Lampent and sends Cap away to go help them while he finishes with the merch stands. Liko and Roy have picked up the pace on their search, and fortunately for them, they do see Tepin's Pokemon running away. They immediately throw away the element of surprise by yelling at them, so they just start running for their lives, and a wild goose chase ensues. The Pokemon eventually run into a museum to hide, and I have to say that this scene really had some potential for me. I like the idea of Tepin's antique Pokemon hiding in a museum, but there was absolutely no nuance nuance to this at all because all of them hid together and in plain sight. What idiots. Teppen's Pokemon run away again, jumping out of a window this time, so they actually do lose Liko and Roy for a little bit. Back over with Freed, he and Charizard are finally done fixing their mistake, and the shop owners are impressed with his hard work. Freed says he's not really cut out for retail, and I agree. I've worked a lot of retail in my life, and it's actually not as bad as people say it is, but Freed would definitely be terrible at it. The scene of he and Charizard running away was funny, mainly because how silly Charizard looked trying to run without knocking anything over again. Liko and Roy's search has led them to this park area, and they decide to split up. Roy is the first to spot Teppen's Pokemon, and even though they all agreed to call each other whenever they found their enemies, Roy just confronts them himself. Lampent and Bronzor keep on running, while Honedge and Bronzong stay behind to fight. Roy tries to take them on 2v1, not sure why he didn't bring out Watch Roll to even the odds, as he and Fuecoco quickly get overwhelmed as Bronzong traps Fuecoco, only for Honedge to smack Bronzong, causing a vibration so huge that Fuecoco is down and out, so the Pokemon can make their escape. Liko has managed to run into Lampent and Bronzor though, and again she just confronts them herself with Sprigatito, and it's not the smartest plan, unlike the very clever way Teppen's Pokemon protect the Pokeball using Bronzor's defensive prowess. Even when Liko tells Sprigatito to run in a circle and use Leafage, which the animation looked really funny for this by the way, it still doesn't work as Bronzor just shields its partner the entire time. Even though Liko hasn't prompted her at all, Hatena is watching on from Liko's hood and sees an opportunity. She uses her psychic powers to telekinetically grab this random shovel and flings it over at Lampent, cutting the pouch loose that has Roy's Pokeball. Sprigatito goes to pick it up, but hesitates like an idiot and doesn't just immediately run away with the bag. Instead, Teppen shows up with the rest of his Pokemon, and I thought it was hilarious the way he commanded Lampent to use Thief, and all it did was float up there and grab the bag. This wasn't even a move at all, and even more funny is the lazy animation going on in the background. Liko is already looking up in the sky at Lampent, even though it hasn't flown up there yet. A small error, but I did catch this at the perfect frame. Alright, back to the action, and Roy is caught up with Liko to somewhat even the odds. They start pleading with Teppen, asking him why he'd do this if he really did adventure with Diana back in the day. He reiterates what he said on the phone earlier, which is that someone is offering to pay him for a Pokeball like this, and this all but confirms to Liko and Roy that he's talking about the Explorers. Alright, the time for talking is over. Let's battle. I'm not sure what Liko is trying to accomplish by having Sprigatito attack Lampent, a ghost type, with quick attack, but it doesn't matter anyway because Bronzor just uses Ally Switch to swap places with Lampent and take the attack head on, which hurts Sprigatito way more than it does Bronzor. Teppen's tactics continue to succeed, with his Bronzong's Rain Dance nullifying Fuecoco's fire type attacks. Now Roy decides to bring out Watch Roll and is quick enough to land a direct hit with Spark on Lampent, causing it to drop the Pokeball. Sprigatito again claims the bag, only to again not run away with it, giving Teppen enough time to call for Metal Sound, and this move is enough to cause Sprigatito to drop the pouch. Wow, that was easily preventable. Bronzong jumps on top of the bag, and Teppen's Pokemon make a stand. Our heroes aren't backing down either, but oh, would you look at that, it's the Fungus from before, and it puts all of Liko and Roy's Pokemon to sleep. It also puts itself to sleep, and yeah, this was a fun callback to the beginning of the episode. It used the extra potent sleep powder Teppen was selling, so he was telling the truth that it even knocks out your own side too. Teppen is fine with this outcome because it looks like the battle is over. Well, I play the clip at the beginning of this video to show what happens next. It's the least dramatic twist of all time. Cap shockingly jumps out of the blue to save the day. I mean, we've already seen Captain Pikachu decimate the Explorer's admin, so it wasn't really that interesting seeing him bully Teppen's Pokemon. We know how strong Cap is, and we know his Thunder Punch is going to destroy all of these guys. So my reaction to this heroic moment was, really? Again? Teppen knows his goose is cooked, but when he tries to make a run for it, Freed and Charizard show up to corner him. Roy finally gets his Pokeball back, and now it's time to question the old man. For some reason, this felt like one of those ending scenes in Scooby-Doo when they all confront the bad guy. Alright gang, let's unmask this bad guy and see who he really is. It's gotta be the Explorers, right? Well, Teppen isn't really giving anything away, but he has accepted his fate and says they can roast or simmer him if they want. Zoinks! Suddenly, Liko's grandma appears from out of nowhere. Okay, now this is interesting, as everyone else has some differing reactions to seeing her. Liko asks if she's finished deciphering the ancient text, and Diana says that she discovered it was actually a big fake because what ancient text ends with "watch the conclusion online." Diana tells her Arcanine to burn Teppen to a crisp, very fitting since he did just get done saying they can roast and simmer him, but Liko steps in and spares the old man. Diana goes on a monologue here talking about how she used to go adventuring with Teppen, and she even brings up the time they spent an entire week hanging upside down from an Ariados's web. Oh my gosh, Teppen was telling the truth again! Huh, if Teppen really was telling the truth this whole time, does that mean smartphones really existed 20,000 years ago too? I don't know, but Teppen says to Diana that stealing is more his style, but Diana uses Teppen's own Bronzor against him. Apparently its reflection can reveal the truth, which is news to me. The only context I could find for this was Bronzor's Pokedex entry from Pokemon Shield, which is quite the pull from the anime writers here. Anyways, the point is that Teppen does actually have adventuring in his heart, but the old man says he can't cut it as an adventurer, he's too much of a coward. Diana motivates him with the same stuff she's told Liko before about how it's all about taking the first step. She then questions him on whether these Pokemon are his partners, and they all surround him as Diana questions the way Teppen treats them. This causes the old man to break down and start crying, and I guess this was supposed to be an uplifting moment where the villain sees the light, but this completely missed the mark for me. Maybe some people were swayed by this emotional turn of events, but I just thought it was stupid. Like, are we really supposed to feel bad for this guy? The episode comes to an end back in the city, with Teppen continuing to apologize as he promises to go back to adventuring again with his friends. He mentions that he should probably apologize to the person he promised the ancient Pokeball to, and reveals that it was actually just some Pokeball artisan, so it wasn't the explorers like our heroes thought it was. Teppen hands over the artisan's contact info, and our heroes have their next lead. Now, usually when the episode comes to an end, it transitions into the Rising Voltacklers rap, but there's actually a different rap today. A few months ago, my good friend Luop tagged me in a rap tag video, and for the longest time I've been wondering how to respond to it. Well, inspiration finally hit me harder than one of Cap's Thunder Punches this week after I got matched up against Luop in a Pokemon Showdown tournament in the Pichu Bros Discord server. And based on how that match went, well, the music's starting, so here we go. Luop, you're an imposter. Couldn't even beat my Among Us. Get it? Imposter? Among Us? Okay, let's do this. Gen 5 doubles was the meta. It's too bad I was better. Once I set up Trick Room, time for you to meet your doom. This is why I'm elite. You're hardly a trainer. Once I sent up Porygon, your chances would bag on. You may have more subs than me, I still won the battle. I know you're not a fan of this, just go and ask your Landorus. You're just so irrelevant, kinda like you're jealousing. Better luck next time. Ha 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 ha. Oh man, see, I told you this video would be worth the wait. To continue with the Pokerap tag challenge, I am tagging SPEYERE because I bet he can actually make a good song, Ion because he'll do something funny and creative, and lastly Niall because he hasn't responded to Luop's tag yet, and because I am miles better than him in Fantasy Premier League, maybe I could have made a diss track about that instead. Okay, back to the episode review now, and I'm giving this episode a 4 out of 10 rating, which is my lowest rating for any Horizons episode thus far, which I hate to do. In general, I love this series, and I can totally accept when some episodes are better than others. I don't have the expectation that every single episode is going to be an absolute banger, but that's not the problem with this episode. I think it was just poorly written. Sure, there were some funny moments, but it had too many things working against it. I already talked about how Teppen's change of heart did nothing for me, and I just don't understand why they spent the entire episode making us want to dislike this guy only to then immediately reverse the situation on us and expect us to feel sympathetic towards him? Really? And oh man, the writing decision to have Cap save the day again, I mean, I'm just apathetic to it at this point. They have overused that trope because they've done similar stuff so often in the first 28 episodes of Horizons, it's basically the law of diminishing returns. I was already kinda over this when Cap saved the day against the Explorers admins, and this just took it to a whole nother level. We know Liko and Roy are still beginners, but they've already proved themselves capable in battle. Wouldn't it just have made more sense for them to overcome Teppen after working together? Sure, we would have lost the funny joke about Teppen's sleep powder, but I would have much rather sacrificed that gag in favor of giving Liko and Roy a clean victory here. Literally the same thing could have happened after, with Freed arriving to stop Teppen from running away, and the episode could have ended the exact same. But no, Liko and Roy need help again, and I'm so over it. It's fine if they reuse plot points like this, but they have already done it so much that it left a sour taste in my mouth, and that's why this is now my lowest rated episode of Horizons thus far. Moving on to next week, and by that I mean tomorrow/today, I guess, and this episode is going to focus on the Rising Voltacklers meeting with this Pokeball artisan. I never got the chance to say this in a video before, so I'm kicking myself for not making a Horizons discussion video at some point, but I thought it would be cool to see the Rising Voltacklers take the ancient Pokeballs to someone like Kurt, but I didn't think that was possible because they wouldn't bring back an old character from a past series like that. Well, it looks like Horizons is getting around that by creating an entirely new character with a similar job to Kurt, and she's going to cause the subplot about Orla potentially leaving the Rising Voltacklers. We know that's definitely not happening, but it does make sense that she'd be interested in another mechanic like this. It's actually unreal that my script for this episode review is on its 7th page. Why did I write so much when I'm trying to get this review done quickly? Oh well, it's more content for you all, I suppose, even though I do honestly wish I could post these reviews right after I watch the new episodes each week. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed all the nonsense I packed into this one. The episode may not have been all that, but I'd like to think I can still make these videos exciting week after week. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.